Here are the top waiver pickups for week 9. We're going to start with running back. And the top ad this week, if he's available in your league, is absolutely Khalil Herbert. He's owned in 60% of leagues, so only available in 40%. So just do a check because he's probably not available. But if he is, absolute league winner material. A guy who, if there was an injury to happen or if there was a trade for David Montgomery, then he's going to be alone in that backfield. And he could absolutely win you a league. He'll be a starter for your roster for the rest of the season. Even if nothing happens to David Montgomery, though, he's been slowly creeping into the backfield workload. He's been getting double-digit touches per week, so he needs to be rostered in absolutely all formats. So just check. Only 40%, but the top ad if he's available.
Yep. Our next ad is going to be Latavius Murray, running back for the Denver Broncos. He is available in 54% of leagues right now. He's someone that you can just plug and play, maybe a bye week fill-in. He'll probably get you about 10 points. He's led the Broncos in carries 2 out of the past 3 weeks. He and Melvin Gordon split work there. So he's not the flashy must-play guy, but if you just need, someone who's for sure going to get carries and potential goal line work, Latavius Murray fills that in. I believe he's had right around 10 points 2 out of the last 3 weeks. So really you're just hoping for a touchdown, but he is going to get probably double-digit touches a week. And sometimes that's all you need at running back.
Yeah, it's been pretty much a 50-50 split, with Mike Boone going on IR. They're splitting it, so you're hoping for a touchdown. He actually out-touched Melvin Gordon last week. He was out-snapped by a little bit, but he got 15 touches to Melvin Gordon's 12. So
he's out-touched him 2 in the last 3 games.
So
2 of them.
I mean, he's definitely there's a lot of people going on bye this week. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, a lot of big names. If you need a start, he's worth rostering in most formats, in my opinion.
Yep, for sure.
All right, and then to go to a little bit of a deeper ad, Kenyan Drake, only not necessarily a priority ad, but if you need a start and these other guys are taken, this is somebody you need to take a look at. If you're dealing with bye weeks or injuries, I know it's not pretty, but Gus Edwards did suffer an injury. He may play this week, but if he does, he still could be limited. If you're desperate for a start at running back, Kenyan Drake, you can definitely line him up and just hope for the best. He's playing against the New Orleans Saints, who are a middle-of-the-pack defense against running backs this year. He's been decent on a per-touch basis when he's seen 50 or more % of the snaps. He did that last week and in week 6, where he was like the lead back, and he saw a really good yard per carry. So let's hope that happens again. If you need to fire him up, one of those guys that he's a streaming start for me.
All right, next up is going to be Chuba Hubbard. He's available in about 45% of leagues, which that number may increase after tomorrow's waiver runs. After D'Onta Foreman had such a big game, people could think like, hey, he's the lead guy, let's drop Chuba. But I see it a little differently. Assuming he's able to play, we don't know the extent of his injury, but it seems like the Panthers are, at least the past 2 weeks, going to be competitive in these games. For whatever reason, they trade their best player away and another starting receiver away, and they now all of a sudden become competitive. It doesn't make sense, but if they are going to keep being competitive, and both Chuba and D'Onta Foreman are going to keep getting touchdown opportunities, that's really all you're looking for. You're looking for carries, and you're looking for touchdown opportunity. And now D'Onta Foreman just had such a big game, so people may be a little bit down on Chuba Hubbard, but Chuba Hubbard had over 2,000 yards rushing in a single season in college, so he's not some scrub. He definitely has some talent in there. So if he's dropped and you need a running back that you just have to have, that you need to start this week, I think there are at least worse options than Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, we saw against Tampa Bay, who we thought was supposed to be this great running defense, that they actually were both able to get it done, and it was pretty much a split backfield. So not sure if he's able to get healthy this week, but if he is, definitely, I'd say he should be rostered in most leagues. So, yeah, if he's out there, take a look at him. I think he's worth rostering.
Yep.
If you don't need any of these guys to start, and instead you're looking for more of a stash, always look for these guys that are, true handcuffs. We're talking Alexander Mattison available in half of leagues. Rachaad White we've talked about him every week, still available in about half of leagues, 55%. So those guys need to be rostered. There's some other handcuff options that are less rostered that you could also take a look at if you have an extra, bench slot and you don't have any of these big priority pickups. Jaylen Warren has still been getting a decent amount of workload, and he seems to be like the next man up at the Steelers. There's a lot of those guys who just take a look and pick up a backup running back. It has higher upside than a lot of these other stashes are going to be. So take a look for, especially Rachaad White and Alexander Mattison.
Yep. So I do that every week. Likely, unless you're just have a crazy amount of injuries or bye weeks, everyone has that fourth or fifth receiver on their bench or running back on their bench that they really never plan on starting. So every Saturday or Sunday morning, I will always drop that guy and just pick up a handcuff of kind of like your lottery ticket guy of what if so-and-so gets injured. So like a Jamycal Hasty for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They traded away James Robinson. So if Travis Etienne gets hurt, they only have one running back with any sort of NFL experience, and that is Jamycal Hasty. Jaylen Warren, if Najee Harris gets hurt, he's next man up. He's going to receive all the carries. So you don't really need to roster 5 and 6 receivers in these leagues. So just drop whoever the worst one is on your bench that you really never see yourself starting and just pick up a lottery ticket tap guy.
Samaje Perine available in 88% of leagues.
Yep.
I mean, I think if Joe Mixon were to go down and he gets a big workload, definitely a good chance there. He would get a lot of receiving work. So.
Yeah, he gets a lot of work now compared to what we see with other backfields. So if Joe Mixon went down, Samaje Perine would absolutely be a must-start running back.
All right, moving on to wide receivers. The top ad for me this week is Joshua Palmer, although there's a couple of good ads. So we're going to talk about 2 or 3 really good ads this week. Joshua Palmer just came off of a bye week. We told you guys to pick him up last week. If you need a receiver start, he can absolutely be that. He's going against the Atlanta Falcons this week, which is a really good matchup for receivers. He's had, 3 big weeks out of the 6 so far, and 5 of those were without Keenan Allen. Now with no Mike Williams and Keenan Allen still struggling with injury, they really don't have a lot to go to, and he's been their other guy at receiver that they've been looking at. So he's a must-add for me. He's just going to get targets. He's seen 8 or more targets in 3 games. He's seen 6 or more targets in 4 games. So I think he's going to be more consistent with Mike Williams going out, and there's going to be a lot of targets for Josh Palmer. So you can start him.
Next up is going to be Rondale Moore. He's 50% owned. Moore's had an up and down season, both in real life and for fantasy. So this coaching staff really doesn't know what they want to do with him. If you look at every game where he primarily lines up in the slot, he has a good game. And then every other game when they, for some reason, move him outside a lot, he has a bad game. It's almost like he's not an outside receiver, which is very frustrating being a Cardinals fan because you constantly see the coaching staff misusing him. But Rondale Moore is an exciting and very good player. Just look at some of his highlights. He has home run ability every time he touches the ball. So I think you could do worse for a high upside play. It seems that the more Robbie Anderson gets familiar with the system, they are using Rondale Moore in the slot more. He played 99% of the snaps this past Sunday, which is phenomenal. You hardly ever see that out of a slot receiver. You actually never see that out of a slot receiver. He played 2 snaps in the backfield, which, they're kind of gimmicky, but, that still plays. You're on the field, and who knows what type of usage you could get. So you could definitely do worse than Rondale Moore, who's seeing about anywhere from 5 to 9 targets a week, which is not bad for a dude that you just picked up off the waiver.
Yep, and they're going against the Seattle Seahawks this coming week, which is a divisional matchup against an opponent who a lot of their matchups have ended out in shootouts. So I think you can flex him this week. If he's available, he would be that second man up for me on the waiver wire, available in half of leagues. So take a look. Yep. Another guy I want to mention is Devin Duvernay. You can flex him. I think he's a riskier flex. But we have heard about Rashad Bateman. He may miss a few weeks. So he's not just a week-long ad. They do have a bye week in week 10, so it takes a little bit of the appeal away. But they're going against the New Orleans Saints, who have been pretty much middle of the pack against receivers. So you can absolutely start him. He has potential to get a touchdown every single week. So if those 2 guys that we mentioned before are not available, I think you can flex Devin Duvernay.
Yep. And our last guy, this is going to be more shallower leagues, but just in case Allen Robinson was dropped, he is available in about 30% of leagues. And surprisingly, he's available in one of my 12-team leagues. So you never know. I mean, a lot of people look at the situation and they're like, well, my league. Well, you never know what's going on in other managers' heads that could just drop people. So
he was dropped in a lot of leagues I was in. So he frustrated a lot of managers. Although he had a big week in week 6, he had a bye week coming up. So a lot of people weren't rushing to go pick him up off of a touchdown that really hasn't been, he hasn't been valuable. So I really could see him being available in a lot of leagues. But he's seen more targets over the past couple weeks, and it looks to be hopefully more involved in the passing offense as long as they don't add any new receivers to the mix.
Yep.
All right. So that does it for receiver for us this week. A quarterback ad I want to mention is Justin Fields. He's still available in 58% of leagues, and in one quarterback leagues, he's absolutely in a position that you can start him for multiple weeks now. If you've been one of those managers who's struggling with quarterback, this is actually a really golden opportunity. You probably already picked him up, but if not, he just had really good performances against New England and Dallas, and now he goes against Miami, Detroit, and Atlanta in his next 3 matchups. So he's gotten 20-plus points in his last 3 matchups, and 20, 25, and 30. So he's been going up. He's been looking better on the field. I mean, I've seen a lot more confidence around him, and it seems like they're sort of designing, the plays better to where it actually suits his strengths, and it's really working for their offense. I know they lost last week, but if you watch their offense, it does look a lot better, and it gives you a lot more confidence to start Justin Fields, whereas before, he can score on a week-to-week basis because of the rushing upside, but now that you actually see the offense can get it moving against good defenses, it gives you a lot of confidence starting him against, these middle-of-the-pack or bad defenses.
Yep. Completely agree. So now that's pretty much the only quarterback that we have this week. It's not really a great quarterback week, but so moving on to tight end. I know we have a couple bye weeks and injuries for the tight end position. So Evan Engram is going to be our number 1 pickup for this week. He's available in about 52% of leagues. He's hit double digits in 3 out of his past 4 games, and the one game he didn't, he had 9 points. Which, if you have played fantasy for a while, if you don't have one of those elite tight ends, if you can get double digits, then you're doing good. So if you don't have Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews and your tight end hits 10 or more points, then you are perfectly fine. So Evan Engram has been a lot more involved in the offense. He had 1 touchdown last week and actually dropped a 2nd touchdown. So he could have had an absolute monster game. His targets and route rates have gone up significantly from the start of the year, so he's becoming more involved in the offense. They're scheming things up for him, and Trevor Lawrence is starting to look his way more. They're building more rapport and chemistry there. So I'm personally picking him up in one league to play due to bye week. So if you need a start for this week and maybe even for the rest of the season, I think you could do worse than Evan Engram.
Yeah, he's got a couple of good matchups coming up. The Raiders and Kansas City. I think he can get it done in those. So, yeah, if you're struggling, I think he's a pickup. And if he keeps playing well, keep him on your roster. And, yeah, he's available in over half of leagues. Greg Dulcich is also available in over half of leagues. Sadly, he is going into a bye week, and he may have been picked up. He was picked up in a lot of my leagues, but he had another good week. So, 3 weeks on the field, 3 good, solid tight end weeks. As a rookie tight end, you love to see that. And coming off of the bye, if you have the room to stash him, you could line him up going forward. I mean, I played him this week, and in those leagues where I'm struggling at tight end, I plan to move him into my lineup and keep him there until I see, bad performances, because he's put up nothing but good numbers, increases yards every single week. So he's actually been really involved in that offense, and it's helped them move the ball whenever they actually look at Greg Dulcich. So he's absolutely a stash if you have the room on your roster.
Agreed. And the last one we have is going shallow, just a check your waiver wire type deal, but check and see if Gerald Everett was dropped. I know he's coming off of a bye week, so people may have had struggles and had to drop him, but just check and see if he's available. He would be our number 1 tight end pickup if he's available, but likely he isn't. He isn't available in many leagues, but just go ahead and check and see. With Mike Williams going out, like we said, he should continue to see good targets like he has been thus far through the season. So just check and see if he's available.
Yeah, a lot of smaller roster size leagues, he may have absolutely needed to be dropped. I considered it this week, but I held on because I know with the Mike Williams injury, he has a lot of upside and he could get a lot of targets. So definitely pick him up if he's available. And that does it for our waiver show for week 9. If you guys enjoyed the content, please subscribe, hit like, leave us a comment. We answer every comment and the questions. People have asked us a lot of advice. So if you need advice, just ask us a question. And like I said, subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers. That's the new goal. I just said it right now. We're almost at 250, and I wanna steamroll. So thank you guys for supporting the content. We really appreciate it. We have been the Fantasy Bros. We are out.